Welcome to episode 88 of The Leap Home, Liberation.
In this week's episode, Sam has to try and advance the cause of women's liberation, save multiple people from being shot, educate a young woman and prevent a husband with traditional views from bringing his marriage to a premature conclusion. His initial emotional response changes the original course of history, but can he prevent disaster without compromising his feminist views, or will he need to sell out to reach his conclusion?
I said to him, "What's so bad about being a father?" He says, "Nothing. I just don't know how to break the news to my wife."
Good afternoon, Ian. How are things with you?
Not too bad, Gerry. Have you broken the news to your wife?
Never. Try to keep that a secret.
Taking no responsibility.
None whatsoever. There were an awful lot of obnoxious characters in this episode.
I have some notes and there are some caricatures as well.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
Some of the worst people we've seen in all of content. Worse than Sam.
And Sam was pretty bad. He was doing his Marty McFly, where he, as the white man, was helping or kickstarting the women's lib movement.
In his own vision.
Yes.
So he goes from one extreme to another. Yeah, no, I wasn't happy with his flip-flopping and some of his mealy-mouthed proclamations in this one.
Give us the socials.
Okay, we're at Leap Home Podcast, Facebook, Twitter, etc. Get your show notes at theleaphome.com. And if you want to hear next week's episode already, as usual, you'll find it over at the Columbo Podcast Productions YouTube channel, where you can comment, like, subscribe, and hit that little bell for notifications.
Let's crack on.
So we open up at this protest that we saw at the end of last week's episode. I don't think there's any changes.
No, Sam leaps into the body of a woman in the middle of this protest rally at a college and finds himself tossing his bra into a fire.
And being photographed.
Oh boy. After the credits, we see that he's standing beside a younger woman who is clearly very engaged with the leader, Diana St. Cloud, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Although Sam is obviously not as enthusiastic.
He clearly is very half-hearted in his participation here. He's chanting liberation now, but only with half a fist up and not particularly enthusiastically.
It's not the most creative of chants, is it?
Yeah, it doesn't really mean anything either, does it?
As you said, a photographer asks Sam for his name, but as he can't give it, he puts him down as unidentified protester and then hands him a Polaroid. It was very, very quick, that, even for Polaroids.
That's not sensible. When was this? 1968? We didn't give the date. 16th October 1968. My understanding of a Polaroid is you get that one shot and that's your photo, but this guy obviously is also selling this photo to the newspaper, so he must be keeping a negative somehow. Not sure how that works.
I quite liked, however, this mechanism for Sam to see who he is.
Yeah, in the photograph, that was good. That was one of the highlights of the opening sequence. And
he looks like a fairly conservative middle-aged woman.
Yeah, but obviously not, because he's here at this protest.
Yeah, but that's what he looks like.
Yes.
Motherly, quite suburban.
Those are all terms that you would apply to the woman in the photograph, yes.
Diana continues to excite her followers with her speech, but is heckled by a group of loudmouth, obnoxious, stereotypical jocks.
Yes, I used a less polite word, but yes. She continues to speak and talks about not wanting a female-dominated society, just not wanting a male-dominated society and things like this. Sensible, normal things that you would agree with.
Sam tells the girl that they should go, and is surprised to hear his daughter tell him that they can't leave at this point.
Indeed, and before they have a chance to do anything else, the cops show up.
Yeah, well, before that, I think the jocks, they have another go, but Diana is able to handle them with ease before, as you say, the cop cars pull up with their sirens wailing, ordering this illegal assembly to disperse.
Well, they order them to disperse, but then arrest everybody.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's how illegal it is to have a rally in the 60s.
Well, I think it is. They had quite draconian anti-protest laws. Probably because all the civil rights stuff was going on as well. They were maybe afforded additional power.
Sure, what I'm saying is, it's obviously they're going to try and make the crowd disperse, as they say, but is it actually, can you be arrested for standing at the rally?
No, but
what's the law that they're breaking?
What they can do is show up and then claim they're resisting arrest, as he does do.
Yeah, while beating them with batons.
Indeed.
The crowd do split up, but we see Sam being grabbed as we head to the family home.
Yes, we see a bald man who we come to learn is George Sanders Sr. He's preparing some party treats and talking to his young son, George Jr.
Yeah, he's clearly not used to being in the kitchen and asks Junior where his mother is.
Which we assume is Sam.
Yes, all he knows is that he was picking up their daughter Susie from school, and they wonder where they have been for the last 3 hours.
He asks the young boy to let him know when his mother returns and heads back through to the party, where we hear a misogynist telling the joke that we all heard at the top of the podcast.
Yeah, he's casually insulting his wife in front of the others. He's a scumbag, isn't he?
Oh, he's mocking his wife for having the temerity to try and read. It's just unbelievably backward stuff.
Yeah. George tells them that Sam and Susie are at a charity event and should be home soon before the arse denies his pregnant wife a cheese puff with a creepy laugh.
Yeah, telling her that he doesn't want her to get fat and reminding her that she's pregnant. I think he's got another thing coming if you think she's going to stay not fat while she's pregnant.
He then asks George about the chances of the family incentive bonuses being pushed through, which causes another female colleague and fellow guest, I think her name's Evie, to remark that she thought they were vetoed due to being discriminatory against the working mothers.
Yes, she's clearly smarter than the men are.
She's nice, good, yeah, I like this character, yeah. George ignores her by handing off the platter to her and responds to the arse by asking him if he thinks that a private business should support the traditional family model. I mean, that's been right up Sam's street.
Oh, he'd be up for this.
Yeah.
He does think that private business should support the traditional family model.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not even supporting the family model, but it's excluding people who are not part of that model.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, the scumbag confirms that he does have this view and opines that this model supports businesses, and we see again that Eve has a bit of spark about her.
She's got something going for her. She's maybe not quite letting her full light shine at this point.
No, she quietly argues that it is in fact individuals who support enterprise. It's not, families aren't a thing per se. It's the people within the families who would support a business.
Yeah.
The workers.
I assume that this guy's point is that women who stay at home and look after their kids allow their men to go out and work in businesses.
No doubt. The guys, they seem not to know how to take this uppity attitude. But before they can respond, Junior runs in with news about Sam.
Yes, he asks his dad to guess where Mom is.
Where is she?
Down at the police station.
Yeah, many of the women have been arrested and are being held in a cell where Diana is still talking and inspiring them.
Al shows up to tell Sam about his fantasy about incarcerated women.
Yeah, I mean, this is an exploitation genre. You know, women behind bars, caged heat. There was a lot of movies based on
TV series as well.
And today, I mean, I'm led to believe that you can still find content that has that as the backdrop.
Mainstream content we're talking about?
No. Anyway, let's move on.
Sam, at this stage, has already gathered from, presumably, Susie, that he is Margaret Sanders, mother to Susie and George Jr. And
yeah, he doesn't want to hear Al's political views at a time like this.
We're women. Yes. Now, if
Women's lib. I don't know. I could never decide whether it's a hindrance or a help.
Your opinion on this matter is one that I'm not even remotely curious about. Now, what am I doing here?
Well, I don't see any trouble brewing on the horizon.
Look again.
job as a woman.
All right, let's calm down. If you ladies can't behave yourselves, we're going to have to separate.
The First Amendment states we have the right to assemble. Don't you ever touch me! Ow!
Take it easy. Is that necessary?
Are you all right?
These women aren't criminals.
Unlawful assembly, incitement to a riot, resisting of arrest. Every charge is a criminal one. So don't stand there and tell me my job, Margaret.
Got it. 89.3% chance you're here to help Diana.
God, what is going on here? Margaret. Suzanne. Donnie. I want you to let my family out of there.
I'm afraid I can't do that, George. Not until I get everybody's name down on
Wait,
paper.
I've known you 15 years. I just left your son at a dinner party at my home to decide his future. Now, I want you to release my family.
He's got something on him, Sam.
I'm releasing them into your custody, George. I'll make an arrangement with the booking sergeant so no one ever knows they were here.
Thanks, Donnie. As a friend. As a friend.
Next time, better keep a tighter rein on the little woman.
Little woman.
Never mind. I promise it'll never happen again.
Sam, I think you changed history with that little knight in shining armor act there.
Suzanne?
Mom, we've got to stick together. Mom?
Margaret, let's go.
Sam, you can go. Ziggy says they're all going to get bailed out first thing in the morning.
They are, there's definitely all sorts of Masonic stuff going on there.
Oh, yeah. And it might be 68, but these men are stuck in the 20s somewhere.
A little lady. Keep her on a leash. Literally, probably.
Don't let her go out to these rallies. They're very dangerous. Incitement to riot. Come on.
I suppose we should put, be mindful of the context. The 60s were a powder keg
Politically
time.
charged.
Very
yes.
student riots. There was obviously a good reason for it. The obviously a lot of equality issues. It needed
Civil rights and
civil
stuff,
rights, yeah, and people,
A lot of
high-profile people
assassinations going on as
been
well,
killed, yeah. Anyhow, back at home, Sam tries to play down what happened, but her scummy husband has a go at him for making him look bad and having the audacity to talk back to the male cop.
He's referring to that little woman comment. That's it. That's the talking back.
He doesn't like Sam not respecting Tipton, that's the sheriff, the cop, and reminds him that he is the father of one of his best employees.
That's your favourite guy from earlier on.
They're all arses. They are all, these people are just...
funny handshakes and stuff. It's all,
And George demands to know what he is up to.
He says, what in God's green earth is going on?
But Sam, he won't be bullied.
No, he says that Tipton was wrong to knock Diana down. But George at this point says he thinks that his wife's changed into a different person he doesn't like. He's begging to be divorced, and then confirms that. Or Al confirms that.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's exasperated and he acts like a bratty, spoiled kid, and I think he threatens
He's
to...
really pathetic. This is the first time throughout this episode he behaves in such a needy way. It's really quite cringeworthy to watch.
He's pitiful, yeah. And I think he says he's going to sleep in the den.
Yeah, poor me. Don't try and stop me. Okay, bye.
But rather than being supportive, Al warns Sam that he is not making life easier for Margaret, and the argument with Tipton is the start of the disintegration of his marriage. I think that's a good thing.
Well, I've written this down. So Al warns that Margaret's life will be, inverted commas, ruined. He doesn't specify how it'll be ruined.
By being a divorcee, I suppose.
I think I'd take the chance.
Yes, I think she would be better off without this guy.
Oh, absolutely. The guy is a wastrel.
Yes, yeah. In fact, it is likely that George leaves Margaret and, yeah, as you say, it ruins her life, but...
She's relieving him.
It is such that the writing in this show, as we've often said, is just so conservatively focused that they cannot conceive that a life might be in... Well, we have seen it before. I suppose, was it last week with the guy, the two wives?
Yeah,
two families.
Three in the end.
And they decided that, you know what, it's better for these people if he just leaves. And in this case, you could argue the same, because the daughter, for a start, she's grown up, she's effectively an adult. And the younger boy, you know what?
He's already lost. He's going down his dad's route already, isn't he?
Yeah, well, that's it. You don't want him to be brought up thinking that is
maybe there's a chance to save him. Yeah, if you get him away from his dad.
Yeah.
But there's a really, really deeply concerning thread through this episode, which we haven't come to yet, but I might mention now anyway. Of because George doesn't hit them, he's not a bad guy.
Yeah,
it's sickening.
It is.
We'll get to that.
The next morning, Sam is up early and is making a breakfast. Now, a couple of things about this. Firstly, how would he know what the usual thing is to make? You know, he's just decided he's making pancakes.
Yeah, he just wants to make pancakes, yeah.
Yeah, but that might be really odd. It's like, Mum doesn't know how to make pancakes.
I think that's the idea. He's trying to make a special effort to reconcile because Al's told him he's ruining the marriage.
Okay.
So he's getting up early and he's like, I'll have pancakes ready. They'll be really happy. But
the last thing you should do but is pander to this guy.
Yeah, he's one step at a time.
Yeah.
Susie is,
tired. She's tired and annoyed.
Sam tries to teach her a lesson about communication, and in doing so completely goes back on everything he was saying the night before.
Yes.
Confusing her.
Yeah.
Visibly confusing her.
She doesn't like his suggestion that it's up to them to make their father listen.
No.
She concedes that she still loves him but feels so distant from him, that she's now unable to speak to him. I think she can see what the father is.
Yeah, and Sam's trying to guilt her into taking some sort of conciliatory steps because it's like, oh, maybe you've not communicated with him properly. Well, that's because he's an oaf.
Yes. Sam says that this is a natural part of growing up, this butting heads with your
But that's
parents.
not what the problem is.
No.
The problem is that the father's got these horrendous, horrific views.
Yes, it's not that she wants to, go to a rock concert or go out with a boy that,
She's not taking drugs or committing crimes.
Yeah. She's actively wanting to get involved in politics.
A positive set of politics as well.
Yeah, with her mother.
Yes.
But Sam does accept Susie's point that he doesn't even communicate with his wife these days. So it's,
how's she hypocritical to come out with this.
In any case, Susie understands that they've got to, fight for respect with the movement that they're part of, and shoving Tipton was a start, a beginning.
Sam's not on board with that. He thinks that was a regrettable incident.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm not against it, but I think if you are trying to be smart about things, shoving police will get you arrested.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't, whether right or wrong, whether the guy's a scumbag, you need to be...
and I think, even in that scene, Diana was being a bit silly when she's like, don't you ever touch me, It's like, he's a police officer, you're in prison.
You can't win this. You're not going to win it. So you pick you pick your battles.
And the situation, yeah. And one of probably the big straw man argument that this episode sets up is the difference between fighting for your cause and physically fighting.
Yeah.
As if that's something that people confuse. And it's not. And it's a really weird line that this episode goes down. It's like, well, she represents people who want to physically fight and you can fight for your cause without harming anybody. It's nonsense.
Yeah.
Anyway, after some more back and forth, George comes in and Sam makes a ridiculous reference to his own mother.
What was that?
He calls the pancakes griddle cakes a la Beckett and insists it's after his mother. But
why would he do that?
I don't know. He's just being silly, and he's doing it quite consciously.
Mm-hmm.
Normally it's an accident. Anyway, George is upset and ungrateful at the offer of pancakes.
In fact, Susie notes that Samuel Beckett is a famous playwright, and we mentioned this obviously in episode 1 that it can't be a coincidence. You don't call someone Samuel Beckett and not know who that is.
Yeah, but that's when Sam points out that's not who he's referring to. He's referring to his own mother. But he doesn't say my mother. It's Ma Beckett, he says. Yeah.
George mentions that they usually have omelettes on a Friday. That's what I'm saying. Sam
he doesn't just mention though. He's visibly upset that he's not being given an omelette.
Yeah.
George, sensing that Sam is making an effort to be conciliatory, and he does this more than once in this episode, immediately gets handsy.
He does, he wants his mellow Margaret back. Now, Sam doesn't argue, but obviously isn't comfortable with the hugging and the kissing he is receiving.
Well, that's a bit silly though, because he should be okay if he's being Margaret.
Yeah, but I can understand Sam's being groped by this horrible guy.
Yeah, well, this is he is very hands-on. As soon as he thinks they're not fighting right now, and it happens again.
Yes, and Sam obviously doesn't like the suggestion of intimacy that night. Oh well, Sam, you just need to take one for the team. You've been happy
signed up for this, yep.
In the past. You've been, when it requires you, or you're right in there. Yeah, you can't have it both ways. Or well, maybe you can. George then tries to kiss his daughter, but is reprimanded for violating her personal space.
That's a bit harsh. He's just giving her a kiss and he's doing it with good intentions. Yes, he's not trying to wind her up.
Of course, but she's been a typical teen. She's not happy with her dad, doesn't want to talk to him, and so I think they're both a bit wrong, but understandable at this point. But he continues to fail to read the room by congratulating his sweetie pie for making good coffee.
He's really visibly making an effort to be positive here, but he's so pathetic.
Yeah, he's doing it the wrong way. He's patronising, and the things he is being positive about are not the things that Sam wants to be.
Yes, he's trying to act like it didn't happen.
Yeah.
We'll just reset everything and I'll act like I've always acted, but not have this concern. And it's not how the world works, and it's not how his family obviously works. He tells Sam that he missed himself at the party because it's neck and neck for this promotion between Evie and Peter. And one of the things he has to consider is that Peter has a family to support, whereas Evie's husband can look after her.
Yeah, I think he calls Evie the hard-working little machine.
Yes. He is, though, considering that her candidacy might have its own positives.
Yes.
She is far cheaper. And even in the same role as Peter, would be paid less.
Yeah, which riles his two family members, but...
Yeah, I don't think he even intended to rile them up, but surely he should have anticipated that this would be...
No, I mean, I don't think he should have. I mean, he should have. I think that is just how things were. I don't think he thinks that is in any way wrong.
It doesn't occur to him that...
No. It's in fact, he says it's company policy. It's not just me. I mean, this is written in the rule book.
Yeah, and there's probably still plenty of places where that is the case.
Of course.
Today.
Maybe not policy, maybe not written policy, but still...
Well, you still have a pay gap if you look statistically.
Yeah. Susie leaves in disgust, and Junior doesn't help the atmosphere when he enters to show that Sam is pictured in the newspaper under a headline describing the arrest, but lying about it being a riot.
The griddle cakes are burning.
We're having pancakes?
I'm going to get something to eat at the office. Well, I think of some way to explain that picture in the newspaper. Margaret, this is the last time you make a laughing stock out of me.
Wait a minute.
No, Sam. Easy.
I know this may seem a little strange to you.
Easy.
Strange?
Yes, strange.
My daughter is insulting me. My wife is on the front page of the newspaper holding her brassiere in the air for the whole world to see. And I'm going to get laughed at by my employees. I call that a hell of a lot more than strange.
Look, I didn't mean to make a joke out of you, and neither did Susie. We were just trying to do something to bring closed-minded people into the century, that's all.
We did it.
Yes.
Since when do you make unilateral decisions concerning this family?
Now, I want my wife and my daughter to stop hanging out with these rabble-rousers and get this family back to normal. I've rescheduled dinner tonight for Peter and Evie at 8. You will be there. And pick up my suit at the cleaners, please.
Mom?
Don't even start. You sit down, eat some breakfast, and get to school.
Yeah, divorce is the separation is the best scenario here, solution, I think.
Who does this guy think he is, issuing orders?
Yeah, then pick up my suit.
Pick up my suit. This is the last time you'll be bringing shame upon me.
Don't make me tell you again.
Don't you make decisions about things.
She needs to kick him out.
Yeah.
Call his bluff. Oh, I'm going to be sleeping in the den or whatever. Oh, you go then. That's fine, yeah.
Sleep in the den, give me half your money.
Sam is livid as he storms into the other room, but Al tries to defend him by saying that George is from a time when men and women had their very own places, different places.
When men were men.
Yeah, and beat women.
And women did what they were told.
But Sam is for having none of it and believes that the system should be quashed. That's unlike Sam. Normally he's very much for that system.
No, he's for the status quo where he comes from, which acknowledges that women are capable of anything that men are capable of, more or less.
Yeah, but not... Well, yeah.
In the workplace.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyhow.
But he also points out that his father... So Al's defending these actions and behaviour, and Sam says, look, my father never spoke to my mother.
This is like the argument, everyone had slaves.
Yeah.
But some people didn't. Yeah. So some people did see that it was wrong. And this is the same. Some people did see it was wrong to treat women like this, so everybody should have been capable of seeing it.
Yeah. Although, using the slave example, not everyone was slaves because maybe they couldn't afford them.
No, but there were people who protested against it at the time. So if there were people who could see then that it was wrong, you can't make the argument that, it was normal.
Yes.
In my opinion.
Sure.
Anyway, we see on the coffee table some books about equality. I think there's some racial equality books. And
Germaine
Greer, yeah. So I assume they're not George's books. Probably Susie's.
Yeah.
I thought it would be a really interesting twist though if it had been that George was really into racial equality. I think that would have made the episode a bit richer.
Yeah.
But anyway, moving on.
However, Al reminds Sam to focus on why he's there. It's not about just now about Margaret and George. He's there to save Diana. But if he can't educate George at the same time, then fine. But you remember...
So this is, again, Al's now switching. So last night was you have to save the marriage, and now it's you have to educate George.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the same thing. Anyway, Al has information about what's going to be happening tonight and why there's a problem.
What's that?
There's going to be a protest, police are going to get aggressive, and Diana's going to get shot. However, there's an easy solution.
What's that?
Just persuade her not to get shot, and you'll be able to leap. That's what Ziggy says. Or at least not to have the protest.
Yes, he wants to call off the march. On the way over there, despite his Swiss cheese mind, he remembers that his mother noted that the women's lib movement was probably good for other women. So what he's saying here is that not all women were, and to this day you still do get women who are happy to see their place being in the home.
Sure, but I don't think that's contrary to women having the opportunity or the right to not be,
Yeah.
You should be able to choose to be in the home. If you want to live that kind of life, there is no problem with that, but you should have the option not to if you don't want to.
He then dates the show by claiming that he has experience that no other man on the planet had. So what he's saying is he has inhabited the body of a woman, right? So he's seen it from both sides. However, I'm no expert, but I think that even in the 60s there were transsexuals. Obviously not
There definitely were. There were some very famous transsexuals.
Yeah, so he's not...
So he's talking nonsense,
the only man on the planet. In any case, he can't condone violence as a tactic. So he's still very conservative.
Yep, he's digging into this conservative. Yeah. This is where he'll start to dig in on that point.
I'm not saying that violence should be the first port of call, but sometimes, and again, if you look at, for example, let's use the most obvious example in history. The Americans took up arms to get the liberation and freedom from the Brits. They had to. You can ask,
quite right too.
Yeah, can we have our own freedom for our own country? No. Go on. No, okay, well, we'll fight you for it. Right, okay. And it's happened the world over.
Yeah. If you look at Nelson Mandela, for example.
Yeah,
quite high profile.
Of course. So sometimes that is the last resort, and you have to do it. So let's not go down that route about violence is never an option. Sometimes it is.
And also, no one's mentioned violence. No. The only violence that's been suggested is that Diana gets shot.
Yes.
So the implication is it's the police that are violent, not the protesters.
Yeah.
So why is he talking about violence not being the answer?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we arrive at the women's collective, or before Sam arrives, we see Tipton sitting outside taking everyone's name down that goes in.
Yes. Inside, it's a hive of activity with Diana inspiring at the helm and Susie helping out. Now, Diana, what does she do?
She's talking to Susie about employment demographics and power structures, and Susie says she can't understand why women have allowed things to get this way.
Yeah, I think also Diana talks about her background and how she had an abusive father.
Yes, she goes on to say it comes from fear, and her fear comes from the beatings that she took from her father and her mother allowing it.
And insists that the cycle still continues, and if they want to make change happen, they've got to sort of go face to face and retaliate where necessary.
Susie can't imagine this level of violence, but Diana tells her that men have oppressed women for centuries and women allow it. So we get this whole other side to Diana here, which I have things to say about later on, but she is one of these people who thinks if you're not with me staunchly, you are my enemy.
Sam hears what's been said and reverts to type somewhat by taking it too literally and claiming that they can't possibly win, women can't possibly win in a fight. I don't think she's suggesting the arm wrestle.
Yeah, no one was suggesting
box.
fighting at all. Sam's brought it up.
Yeah, but even then, the fight wouldn't be, physical. It wouldn't be...
Yeah, everything has been sort of metaphorical until Sam says, well, there'll be no literal violence. Nobody was going to start a fight.
These women can't beat these guys. Anyway.
Are you trying to enter their races? Are you trying to have boxing fights? No.
He does, however, agree that they should be aggressive in the boardrooms. But that's a nonsense because you have to be in the boardrooms in the first place.
Yes, and it's playing by the rules that the men have set, and the deck stacked against them.
Yeah, it also tells her to take a lesson from Gandhi or Martin Luther King and naively claims that if they present their problems in an orderly fashion, then people will see what is wrong with the system. This is absolute garbage.
This is the same advice he gave to the Vietnam protesters in about season 1 or 2.
Yeah. He's using like Gandhi and MLK here, which is fine. That's their way in certain situations, but there are also a lot of other successful agitators or people who have induced change through more upfront and more aggressive approaches.
Revolution, yeah. So, having listened to Sam's impassioned but milquetoast speech, Diana is somehow persuaded that violence must be eschewed and they must follow the path of peace.
Well, what they're going to do is have a sit-in protest or a sit-in boycott.
Yes, so they'll need to find a segregated venue.
And this should end the leap because Al confirms that Diana does not get shot now.
Yes.
It was disgustingly unbelievable So Sam simply says to this very passionate, this very hard line, this someone who knows what they're after, he simply goes, do you know what, why don't you just be like Gandhi? And she goes, yeah, okay.
Yeah, let's play by the rules.
Yeah, good point you've got there, Sam. Never thought of that one before. I don't believe that for a sec. That type of person would simply listen to that and agree.
No, and Sam must know from history that that's not how change gets affected.
So yeah, we go to this gentleman's club.
Yeah, why is George not at work? And why does everyone that works with him be at the men's club right now?
Is it lunchtime perhaps?
Maybe.
And I think a lot of work would get done at these clubs where you can shake hands and
under the table.
Oh yeah, that golf clubs, etc. We see George enter and sheepishly take a ribbing from a patron about his wife being in the paper.
Yeah, this guy's called Flanners.
It's Flanners. Okay. He then approaches the horrible Peter, that's the young arse.
Yes, he's telling a sexist joke that seems to titillate the men around him.
And I think at this point Tipton arrives, yeah?
Yes, so Peter's father, Chief Tipton, comes in and he says hello to Peter, who is on his way out.
And reveals that the FBI want him to watch Diana and her little group.
Don't believe him. He's lying.
As they suspect her of being a dangerous subversive.
No, they don't.
George assures him that his wife and daughter are not involved with any of these groups, but Tipton tells him that he saw them both leave the collective and that he's got no control over them. He needs to really to rein them in, doesn't he?
Oh, absolutely. Tipton then gets onto the whole shady business.
Well, okay, he agrees not to turn their names over to the FBI, but there is an understanding that George will keep control of them, and also what?
That Peter's counting on this promotion. So that's the second time this topic's come up of Peter and the promotion. George dangled it when they were at the cells.
Yeah, and that's why all these dodgy groups like the Masons, etc., are just, people try and pass it off, it's just they've raised money for charity, etc., but it's this type of corruption that happens, and it means that people, yes, will be unfairly disadvantaged. And generally, it's going to be these men over women. It's just it's grubby little
wrongins.
Yeah, of course. Back in the kitchen, Sam is cooking up a storm. So he's wasting his time all day in the kitchen, cooking things.
For this party
What's
tonight?
he doing?
Oh, he's got a party tonight.
No, so what? Why is he's got this leap and he's busy making whatever it is he's making.
He thinks he's done what he has to do for the leap.
Well, I'd be sitting watching TV.
So Al and George Jr. arrive at the same time, which causes hilarity to ensue as they get mixed up on who Sam's talking to. Brilliant.
Junior is not happy with his cooking and notes that his mother seems different.
Yeah, a little bit weird. At the same time, Al tells him that Tina thinks George sounds like him, which has upset Al quite a bit.
So Sam sends Junior up to his room to do his homework and then listens in horror as Al tells him that Susie now gets shot that night at the men's club.
Susie, though, thinks Sam's maybe been working a bit too hard because she comes through and sees him talking to himself.
And he pretends that he was practicing dinner conversations. She shrugs this off and then lets him know that Diana has decided to have the sit-in at this gentleman's club.
Yeah, the one that we just saw, where the father goes. Sam's not thrilled about this, and knowing that Susie's going to get shot if she goes there, tries to persuade her not to go.
The daughter thinks that he's flipping out due to this about turn and talking to himself, but Sam just asks her to trust him.
So she does.
Yeah, and stay and help with dinner.
It's absurd. So Al's happy that this seems to have worked, but things change when George comes back and can't stop himself from interrogating Sam over his afternoon activities.
Don't tell him. Busy? No, not too busy. Listen, I want to ask you something. What do you think of these mushrooms? Honestly.
I called the house. You weren't here. Where were you?
I had to run some errands.
Oh, yes. My suit. Did you pick it up?
Your suit? Yeah, you know, I went to the dry cleaners.
It was closed.
And they were closed.
Closed. I see. Closed just long enough for you and Susan to disobey me.
Disobey you? Disobey you?
Go over to that women's liber den.
We're not children, Dad.
Would you go to your room, Susie?
Wait a second. It's not a den, okay? It's a place where people go to discuss ideas.
I don't care what you call it. I don't give a damn. I told you I didn't want you around those people. Now I'm telling you that if you're so much as on the same block as that Diane St. Cloud, I'm out of this house.
Uh-oh. You don't understand what's happening, George.
What's happening is you're ruining our marriage. Now, either this nonsense stops, or you can ask your new women's lib friends to support you and the kids.
Dad, now you look. Maybe you can threaten Mom, but you don't own me. I'm going to that sit-in tonight, and you're not going to stop me.
You will not tell me what to do, young lady. Go to your room and stay there.
I'm not a kid anymore. I am not listening to you.
See, that's another example of the abuse. It's the financial threats as
and
well.
Emotional as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coercive behaviour.
Yeah.
And he's so wet. He's got no strength behind anything that he says. He's threatening them with this and that and the other, and it's like nobody in the world is going to respond to that. It's just, he's got no idea how to communicate effectively.
Alone with Sam now, George questions the type of mother his wife is becoming, and Sam ignores this and tells him that it's important Susie doesn't go to the sit-in. And rather than agree, George tells him that if he'd done what he told him in the first place, then he wouldn't have this problem to begin with. You can't in any way be gracious or work together.
And he thinks he's solved the problem by locking her in her room.
Yeah, and threatens to move into the club if Sam continues to associate with Diana. This sounds like an easy way out for Sam. Yep, on you go then.
Yeah, off you go. This is absolutely fine. It's probably for the best.
He then goes to answer the door to his horrible guests, and Al tells Sam that he still has to get to the sit-in at 9 p.m, as there is an 85% chance that George moves out after tonight. Again, good.
Yep, I wouldn't be worrying about that if I was Sam. We skip forward a little bit to the party where Peter's talking about healthcare suffering if consumers lose the right to choose their...
He's an absolute moron. This is pure Trump right-wing garbage.
Yes. Basically, socialised medicine's bad.
Yeah. He says nationalised healthcare is bad for the consumer. Yeah.
So that's
moron.
why Americans are bankrupted by medical bills constantly, and nobody in this country has the same problem.
Oh, Christ.
Evie, at this point, excuses herself and heads through to the kitchen to offer Sam some help.
Yeah, most likely sickened by his guff, but is surprised when he tells her to get back out there and tell George of her ideas.
This could have gone wrong. I was waiting for her to say something wrong and Sam to get the finger pointed.
Yeah, see, this is the thing. I have no idea why Sam thinks that George would be in any way receptive to what she has to say. There's been no softening of his attitude.
None at all. Yeah, so he's basically setting her up to be humiliated.
Exactly. She'll walk out there, she'll start to say something, and they'll all laugh and point, and she'll be told...
Sam has this... We've talked about this so many times before. He thinks if you're honest and truthful, then the world will reward you for it. And it's just a fantasy.
It's just so naive, isn't he? Yeah. She obviously nervously demurs, claiming that it is not appropriate party talk. But Sam points out that Peter thinks it is, because he's obviously up for a bit of political chat, and asks her if she really wants the promotion.
She's worried she's going to be seen as pushy or bossy and might offend people, which actually happens because these double standards do exist, and she's not wrong to perceive that.
He assures her that no one will be offended. That's extremely unlikely.
He's not in a position to offer that assurance.
No, in fact, we know for a fact that people would be offended.
Yes.
George and Peter would definitely be offended.
Yeah, and so it proves as Eva returns to the table and points out the issues with Peter's theory.
Yeah, she makes a point that many women work through necessity and not choice, and their families need protected should they become ill or disabled. Now, Peter tries to laugh this off. I don't think, he's obviously not got an argument against it. He tries to belittle her, but George seems at least a little bit intrigued by the argument. This is an unearned character development.
Yeah. If it had been his book earlier on, we might have had an inkling of this. But he's curious without any prompting.
Although he does ask why she didn't bring up her points at the earlier meeting.
She says she didn't think anyone would listen, but there's no response or follow-up to that.
He didn't think anyone would listen in the meeting, but she thinks they'd listen now.
Yeah, because Sam's giving her the pep talk.
Yeah, okay.
We should note that doesn't end the way I worried it might, with Sam causing embarrassment for Evie and getting yelled at by George.
Yeah. Meanwhile, in the van...
It's a camper van. Yep. It's a typical hippie mobile.
It's a Ted Bundy type.
Again, designed to diminish the characters being irrelevant or of no worth.
We find out that Susie has escaped and is with Diana and some of the other women on the way to the sit-in. But while she agrees her father is an idiot, she is shocked at the assumption from Diana that he would ever have been violent towards her.
This is what we talked about earlier. This is this idea that because George isn't physically violent, he's not coercive or basically in some way not a decent man.
Indeed. And at this point, Susie begins to realise that maybe things are a little more serious than what she believed.
Ben, I don't want you to think I've never disobeyed my father. I mean, God, I've skipped classes. I've stayed out past curfew.
Ooh, pretty heavy disobedience.
I guess I haven't rebelled in anything important. And I know what I'm doing tonight is right.
Well, that's all that matters.
Why do I feel so bad about disobeying it?
Maybe you don't want to grow up.
Are you kidding?
Hey, it's a lot easier to let Daddy take care of you than to be responsible for yourself. Look at the housefrows in this country. You've just gone from one daddy to another. They graduate high school, they marry the first guy who gets them pregnant, and then in exchange for cooking and cleaning and bedroom privileges, their husbands take care of them like Daddy did.
My mom and Dad got married right after high school.
Well, your mom is different. She showed me that when she stood up to Chief Tipton.
You know, she regrets doing that. Oh, not defending you, just shoving him. She doesn't believe in physical violence.
Yeah, what woman does? Unfortunately, physical violence to a man is just another form of communication, and I'm sad to say it's about the only one they respect. My father taught me that. I live to regret it. Don't worry, I didn't kill him.
Oh, I didn't think you did.
Although I came close.
So they're setting up Diana here as an unstable individual, which I think is a terrible mistake, and we'll come back to the point probably.
Back in the kitchen, Al updates Sam on Susie and how they now have a problem.
Yeah, so Sam thinks she's locked in her room, but Al had already told her he still needs to get to the sit-in.
Apparently, Diana doesn't intend on having a peaceful protest, and Susie still gets shot, as well as Tipton.
Sam eventually puts down his roast and leaves.
At the club, the media are outside as the manager tries to play down... Is that Flanners? Yes. Yeah. Play down what's happening to his respectable venue.
Yes, he's trying to keep the media calm, but also later wants the police involved as quickly as possible.
Inside, the protesters have placards up and they're chanting for change, with Diana continuing to motivate them as Tipton arrives outside.
Who are they protesting to? They're inside a room that nobody else has access to.
And this is the thing, a men's club is not... They're choosing the wrong... if you're going to use violence, if you're going to... You know, the punishment will be the same whether you do this if you're violent in a dingy little businessman's room or...
I mean, this thing relies on the media getting access to them.
Yeah.
Which they're not getting.
It's just that they don't know what they're doing. Sam is rushing to the scene in the car, but doesn't think they will listen to him and isn't interested on what the odds are.
Yeah, Al and Sam have a bizarre conversation where they decide that Diana must have her own gun because of her problems with her father. It's based on nothing.
I don't know, yeah.
And it's not true.
No. Outside the club, the manager is in a daze at the thought of a woman being in the dining room before Tipton and his heavy-handed goons enter to tell them that they are trespassing and are being arrested.
I quite enjoyed the man who was still sitting at his table reading. For the rest of they're marching around protesting, he's just sitting there.
That reminds me, there's a classic scene in the John Wayne movie, The Quiet Man. Yeah. There's a massive brawl going on, and there's just this one. I think he's actually like an Englishman who doesn't quite get the spirit of reading his newspaper as people are being punched back and forth. Anyway, as Sam arrives, the women are sitting on the floor but being grabbed at by the cops.
Yes, Tipton wants to arrest everybody for trespass because this is private property, and when he hauls Diana up, she again tells him to not touch her as he's not her father. So you're getting this idea she's now lost it completely. She's out of touch with reality and punches the policeman.
And this is obviously what Tipton is looking for as he throws her to the floor. But as he bends down to drag her up, what happens?
Susie grabs the gun out of his belt and hands it to Diana.
Crazy. I mean,
why would she even think to do this?
I don't know. Why bringing guns into this?
I don't know. And Diana, having received the gun, loses complete touch with reality.
There's tension as and silence in anticipation of what will happen next.
I think there's an implication here that all women are unhinged if you really get down to it.
Yeah,
well, I think that's what they're saying here.
All women,
she represents women in this.
Does she, or does she not represent an extreme? Or extreme? I don't know.
Well, they're trying to make the point that the protest that she's leading is not extreme. It's reasonable, but she's not reasonable. Suddenly I don't like it. Anyway.
Sam tells Diana that she needs to give specific demands or else nothing can be changed. And she has a voice to do what she wants. I mean, this might be fair enough, talking someone down in it from a state, but the reality is now that she has no voice. Once she crosses this line and starts pointing guns at cops, you have no power. You're in trouble.
Yeah, and even before she didn't have much power.
No.
What Sam says there is basically, look, the men are in charge, just respect that and follow the rules.
She shouts that they want equal rights and they want to be able to... This is ridiculous. They want to be able to join this members club. I don't know why. I mean, I wouldn't want to join that club.
No, and then you get this bizarre conversation about, well, did you apply? It's like, well, no, because the man just said no women have been allowed in the dining room for 200 years. Why would I apply to join the club? I just want the right to apply to join the club.
Al then incredibly tells Sam to get the women off her emotions and to use logic like a man.
Yes.
And then what happens next is a piece of nonsense where they discuss changing the bylaws of the club constitution and therefore the Constitution of America. It is absolute garbage.
Quite rightly, Diana is not interested in this nonsense.
Yeah. Well, what Sam says, you've got to beat the system by its own rules and use the law rather than the gun. But the rules are made to benefit the people who are... And
yeah,
you can't use the rules. The rules are for these people.
Yeah, he's completely...
He's just, again, so naive and gullible. He thinks that...
I don't even have the word. He's just pathetic.
Yeah, he thinks there is an inherent fairness in the country and how it's
believes in
society.
Truth and justice in the American way, and it's not
But it's
real.
been proven from forever. That
He's seen it in previous sleeps. He's been in situations where folk are getting accused of murder week after week.
Yeah. Anyway, Diana doesn't want to quit like Sam and the others who are turning into her mother.
Yes. Susie then takes an attempt to try and talk her down, saying she's taking things too far by using the gun that I just gave you.
Yes. At this point, I think she's cocked the trigger and states that conditioned women like Sam are the reason that they're oppressed. Al tells him that he's running out of time. As Sam asks what pointing a gun at Tipton will achieve and telling her that they need her outside, helping them, not in a prison. Too late for that.
Oh yeah, far too late. I think there's some kind of discussion at this point about whether housewives are supportive or whether they should be considered enemies of the feminist movement, and it's ridiculous. Ultimately, Diana decides she's just going to shoot the policeman because she's fed up listening to Sam's nonsense.
Yeah, which only just misses him because Sam pushes him to the ground. She's then dragged off screaming as the rest of the women decide it's best to leave quietly now.
Yeah, they're quite thankful that a man has shown them they were following a crazy lady.
Tipton then decides that Susie grabbing the gun is a felony and is about to arrest her. I mean, I think, Susie has to be punished for this nonsense.
Yeah, but Sam, through sheer force of will, convinces the policeman not to arrest Susie.
Well, yes. He says that Susie has in fact saved his life, but only after jeopardising it in the first place.
Exactly. And
it's like, I'm going to push you in the river. But then I jumped in and saved you.
Tipton then says that some of what Sam said made sense, but we're not going to specify which parts or commit to any particular ideology here.
And I think Susie claims that she has felt duped by the lying Diana.
Yeah, well, she should understand that only crazy women would want equality and that she should get back in line.
Sam, however, says Diana wasn't lying and that it was just her methods that were wrong.
He wants his cake and eat it.
Yeah.
He wants to say, oh no violence and work with the system, but also the system's wrong and everything should be changed.
Yep. While Al reveals that Diana ended up spending 5 years in jail before becoming a leading activist in constitutional change.
Nonsense.
Yeah.
Not having that at all.
No. Someone with that background would be shunned because it wouldn't look good for these organisations.
You've got the gun and a policeman,
yeah.
At this point, George comes in and sends Susie to the car while he tells Sam that he's leaving her.
But instead of fighting him, Sam accepts that he has to do what he thinks is right. And this approach stuns both of them.
Well, both Al and George, yeah.
Yes.
They Then Sam then has a go at talking George round to respecting other people and their ideas.
He asks him firstly, does he think they had have a good marriage?
Yeah, he says he's loved him well for a number of years and badly just for this last part.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you balance it all out. Yeah, he doesn't understand why it's all been thrown away.
But George is on a hair trigger here. They were absolutely fine until 2 days ago when Sam went to one protest, and now George is like, oh, you've thrown the marriage away. That's it. I'm leaving. I'm done. I'm going to cry because you've embarrassed me in front of the men.
Well, that's what he says. He sort of breaks down and he says he doesn't understand who he can't. He's lost his own identity now because he doesn't. His wife and his kid. If
you want equality, then what am I? I'm a man who married a feminist, and that's not who I am.
So Sam tells him that he needs to start by finding out who his wife really is and by respecting her ideals and beliefs. And he's not too old to change and assumes that he loves his family enough to try.
Al fortunately reports that this works fine and everyone's happy. Evie gets the promotion and everyone lives happily ever after. And, like I said earlier, as soon as George sees that there's not outright hostility coming from Sam, his hands start going.
Oh yes, but Sam's relieved that before the kiss can be planted, he leaps.
Oh yeah, that would be a bit too gay.
Oh yeah.
Can't have a man kissing a man. Oh, no.
Where does he leap?
He leaps into a woman in a radio studio being asked whether foot size equates to penis size.
Oof.
And as a man with size 13 feet, I can confirm it may.
And when he looks up, he sees the reflection of Dr. Ruth staring back at him.
And we see her reflection saying, oh boy, which I thought was quite nice.
Yes. Okay, there we have it.
Why is he trying to save that marriage?
I've said before, I don't think he should. I think better off out of it.
Yep. I mean, there's no debate. George is not worth the time or the effort.
He's an old dinosaur.
What are you saving the marriage for? What's the purpose? To keep his money? It's not worth it. Make your own money.
Yep.
Smart enough.
Yep.
Tipton must be furious. He's given them all these favours and his son doesn't get the promotion.
Yes. And he's have guns pointed at him.
Yeah,
and all that
he's going to be looking out to arrest any one of them as soon as he can.
Yeah.
I just thought that the decision to have Diana turn out to be an unstable, hysterical woman was wrong.
It's easy to be out.
It's just so stereotypical. It's like, this is the whole point that the anti-feminists are making, that these women are all hysterical underneath. They're only having these arguments because they don't have control of their emotions, and that's why they can't be given equality, because they wouldn't be able to handle it.
Yes.
And this episode just supports that.
It does, yeah. No, I agree. Clumsy.
Yeah, especially written by two women.
Yeah, but we've seen this. I don't know how many times we've said that the intention of an episode in this show can be good, but it's implemented and executed in a cack-handed way.
Yeah, and part of that is because of the character of Sam and the way they have to come back around to him being right all the time. Mm-hmm. Anyway, should we do the trivia?
Sure.
This originally aired on the 12th of January 1993. Directed by Bob Hume. Final time for him. His first episode was Running for Honour. So if you want to hear more about him, tune into that podcast. The two writers were Deborah Pratt, the 19th of her 20 writing credits, and Chris Abbott, her only Quantum Leap contribution. She also wrote for Star Trek Voyager, Little House on the Prairie, Magnum P.I., The Bold and the Beautiful. She's now 77 and her last screen credit was 2007. George Sanders Sr. is played by Max Gale, a familiar face. This was his only Quantum Leap. He's also in Barney Miller and General Hospital, both long-running roles for which he earned Emmy nominations. He's also been in things like Mad Men, Ironside, Flipper. He's now 81. His last screen credit was in 2022. You would have recognised Diana St. Cloud.
Yes.
Played by Deborah Van Valkenburg.
The Warriors.
Yes, this is her only Quantum Leap. She's also in The Warriors, obviously her first film role. Too Close for Comfort, ER, Star Trek Deep Space Nine. She's now 72 and her last screen credit was in 2020. Chief Tipton was played by Stephen Keep Mills. This was his only Quantum Leap. He's also in things like MASH, Dallas, The Incredible Hulk, Spencer for Hire. He's now 77, and although his last screen credit was in 2020, he's only had 2 credits since 1996, one of which was Love Is Not Love, a film he also wrote and directed that's apparently won more than 50 awards. His son Peter Tipton was played by a guy called Bill Calvert. This was again his only Quantum Leap. He's also in Little House on the Prairie, Ellen, ER, and the first 2 Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. He's now 58, and his last screen credit was 2004. A more familiar face was Megan Price, who played Susie Sanders. This was her only Quantum Leap and her first TV appearance, but she went on to appear in things like Will and Grace, Rules of Engagement, The Ranch, Curb Your Enthusiasm, and the Bumblebee movie. She's now 53, so she was 22 playing Susie in this, so not that far off from what Susie was meant to be, I don't think. She's still active. Flanners, everybody's favourite. He was played by William Court, another familiar face. This was his only Quantum Leap. He's also in things like Ghost, Heathers, Little House on the Prairie, and The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He was roommates with Dustin Hoffman after they graduated from the Pasadena Playhouse Actors Training Program and went to New York in search of work. He died 1993, not long after this episode aired, from cancer, just at the age of 57. Evie was played by Jordan Baker. This was her only Quantum Leap. She's also in things like Frasier, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, The West Wing, and Ally McBeal. Her husband, Kevin Kilner, is also an actor. She's now 66 and still active. And the heckler at the start was played by Eric Bruscotter. You remember him. This was the second of his 3 Quantum Leaps. He was also in the episode Right. In terms of general trivia, some of the street scenes were footage from Field of Dreams. This is the only time we see Sam leaping from one female character into another. In terms of things that we learned, Sam's father didn't mistreat his mother, and Tina thinks Al is a bit like George.
Mm-hmm. On this day?
Yeah, the famous Black Power salute presented at the Mexico City Olympics by Tommy Smith and John Carlos on the 16th. On the 17th, Ziggy Marley's Born and Bullet with Steve McQueen premiered.
On the 16th, we also had the release of Electric Ladyland, the final album by Jimi Hendrix. Number ones in the UK, it was Mary Hopkin with Those Were the Days, and in the US, Hey Jude was performed by the Beatles.
Next week, Sam returns to the airwaves as he leaps into a well-known sex therapist and broadcaster in Dr. Ruth. So, we'll see you in 1985.
Until then,
cheerio.
Bye.